What's going on, guys? The Greek Weeb here with another Four Knights of the Apocalypse manga chapter review, and today we got chapter 6 titled The Next Destination. Now before I get into the actual chapter, let me just say that if you recognize my videos from another channel, that was the Review Cave. Unfortunately, at the point of me recording this video, it got claimed multiple times from some of my older manga videos, not for Knights of the Apocalypse, but for other videos that I've done on different manga by Shueisha, and I ended up getting 3 strikes, and my channel was currently very disabled at the moment, so I was unable to do any videos. So I made the second channel, the Greek Weeb, and re-uploaded all of my Four Knights of the Apocalypse videos, and I'll be uploading my current chapter reviews on this channel for the time being until I get my channel back, if I get the channel back. If not, then this will be the permanent channel that I use for my manga reviews, so please help me get myself back up to the subscriber count I was at before, maybe even higher, so I can keep doing these Four Knights of Apocalypse videos and provide more content for the channel as well. So with that long thing out of the way, let's get into what happened last time in chapter 5 of the Four Knights of the Apocalypse. So in the last chapter, after Percival unlocked his magical power and managed to land a hit on Pelgard, him and Donnie end up getting hit with a powerful blaze blast from Pelgard, and then this mysterious fox that we saw in chapter 2 and a bit in chapter 3 actually ended up showing up, used a spell bead. It teleported them to this new place called the Dragon's Backbone, and explained that Percival is one of the legendary Four Knights of the Apocalypse, and they are being chased by Pelgard and his group. And that's more or less it. We know what the Four Knights are. We know that for sure that Percival is one of these Four Knights. And that's how the chapter ended. So now we'll get on to chapter 6, The Next Destination. And before we get into the actual chapter again, I just want us to look at this really awesome cover page that Suzuki made for the series, for this chapter. It just looks amazing. Maybe it's some kind of foreshadowing, but it's Percival covered in blood, serious and angry, and in the back you can tell possibly some crosses in the background, like he's about to face some horrifying opponent. But yeah, I just really cannot express how cool that looks. That might end up, maybe that could be one of the cover pages for one of the volumes or something, I don't know, but it just looks so freaking cool. So anyway, the chapter begins and we see Pelgard walking in this distorted realm towards some sort of ball in the center with castles and towers protruding from it. Now, if you remember, something like this similarly happened back in the Seven Deadly Sins in the Chaos arc, where Arthur's chaos powers manipulated the space around them, and everything just got all warped and demented. So we could tell that this place that he's going to might actually be a realm created through the power of chaos. And I like the imagery that we get as Pelgard is walking through the gateways, and we see these giant monsters that look like stone statues, possibly chaos beasts, that are meant to be guardians for this area, their seemingly home base. We then cut to the inner sanctum of this area as we see multiple holy knights as they are gathered for a meeting. With one knight that appears in the center, appearing to be some sort of mage, giving a progress report and saying that there are clues on the Four Knights of the Apocalypse, and that they might be able to streamline their search. Which means this is every person that is being called for this important meeting. As Pelgard barges into the room, all enthusiastically being like, "Hello, all of you keeping up your good work?" As the room is just silent, as no one really acknowledges him as much. So Pelgard sits next to Ironside, as Ironside is like, "You never change," and Pelgard being incredibly happy, being like, "I've been busy," as he thinks back that it was a shame that he ended up letting Percival go, but he will simply try and take him next time. So the mage in the center is saying to now get things back on track, and that they learned that all 4 of the knights are currently young lads, so they're young kids, probably around Percival's age, and that they are most likely Holy Knight apprentices and not actual knights themselves. As Pelgard's like, apprentice? Not even that. Considering Percival didn't know about his magic to begin with from the very start. He goes on to say that they have abstract visions of all four. One is a boy bearing gold-colored magic. One, a boy with holiness and evil in his eyes. One, a mysterious lad with no fixed appearance. And one child with verdant wing-like hair. And before I get into this, let me just speculate on who they basically confirmed as one of the four knights. One is a boy bearing gold-colored magic. Now this, I'm not entirely sure who this person could be. It could be King Ordean's child, or maybe it could be Zeldris' child, since we have not met either of them. Gold-colored magic is something very weird. It could very well mean that this child is also part fairy, similar to Lancelot. So that one, I'm not entirely sure. When I first read it, I thought we were thinking Percival, but it is revealed that the fourth knight that they were talking about at the end is Percival. One with holiness and evil in his eyes could, honestly, it's very obvious. It's Tristan. I mean, Tristan's got two different colored eyes. His parents are Meliodas and Elizabeth, a demon and a goddess, so that makes perfect sense. The third is a mysterious lad with no fixed appearance. So if you read the Lancelot one-shot, you can know that Lancelot originally, with how his hair was, he kind of looked like a girl. Then he cut it, and now it looks like a boy that he actually is. So it's most likely referring to Lancelot, and obviously at the end, a child with verdant wing-like hair is Percival. As Ironside, and after learning that Percival was in fact a member of the four knights, he slams his fist onto the table, claiming, "Damn it." The mage in the center continues to say that naturally they're foes that know this prophecy as well, and they're searching for them all. For the sake of their king, they have to find them first and dispose of them quickly. We then cut to Ironside attempting to leave it, as he contemplates and thinks back to the fight he had with Bulgus and his initial attack on Percival, being like, that lad was one of the four knights of the Apocalypse. What a blunder! And that he should have double-checked for a pulse. And he questions that Percival could he have actually survived a magic attack at point-blank range, as Pelgard appears behind him, being like, "I thought you just let him go or something," out of pity. But hey, imagine Ironside the assassin failing to dispatch one of his targets, as Ironside is just shocked that Pelgard just snuck up behind him, and is like, "You speak as if the lad is alive," and Pelgard is like, "Yes, and he and I had a battle. He must be one of them, just as I surmised." And Ironside's like, "And you finished them off?" And honestly, Pelgard's like, "Don't be foolish, it'd be a waste. He has so much guts and room to grow." Pelgard states that even despite him realizing the potential, and Pelgard still didn't kill him, and Pelgard's like, it'd be far better to just raise him under his wing. As then, after staring each other down, with a difference of opinion, Ironside lands his sword to try and cut off Pelgard's head in a frustrated attack. As you can feel the impact in the next panel, showing that Ironside is in fact incredibly powerful. And it's shown that Pelgard easily managed to block it, being like, "You truly feel this Percival is a threat to King Arthur?" Like, Pelgard is, after meeting him, is like, "Do you really think that he is a threat to King Arthur?" It does once again confirm that King Arthur is leading these knights, and for some reason, either these guys are working on their own to protect King Arthur from the shadows, or they're working directly under King Arthur. So there's no real overlap to the fact that they are really currently members of King Arthur's Holy Knights, but it is very likely that they are, or they're just protecting him from the shadows. So as Pelgard questions Ironside, like, "I beseech you to fulfill your duties as a royal knight," as they break the stalemate. And Pelgard says, "And your duties as his father don't matter." He questions Ironside's duty as a father, and he's like, and Ironside just straight up tells him that he fails to see the problem. He is a threat more than our liege. That child is going to destroy the world. As we actually get a brief glimpse of Ironside's eye. So maybe we'll get to see his face soon. Maybe. As we then cut back to Percival being like, I'm gonna destroy the world, as the fox basically just told him what the four knights are supposed to be. He confirms that the four knights, that he is in fact in the four knights, and before too long, he's going to wreck the planet. After a brief, ominous silence, and seemingly a basically emotionless Percival, Donnie gets nervous as Percival just goes back to his basic goofy behavior, being like, I won't. And the fox is like, yeah, you will. The prophecy's 100% true. As Percival says, I'm not even a holy knight at all. Once I find my dad and beat him up, I'm going to travel across Britannia and see the sights my grandpa told me. He then says that he's never going to be some world-destroying knight. As the fox basically says that he doesn't really care, he was ordered to find and bring him back and to follow him. As Percival's like, no, he's going to look for his father now. Doesn't matter. As the fox then says, I happen to know, by the way, where your pop and his friends are all at. As Percival's asking to tell him, he's like, the fox then says, Camelot. And Donnie's like, I know he's a yokel, but not even he'd swallow it like that. As Donnie knows what happened to Camelot back during the Holy War. Percival asks what happened to Camelot, and he tells him what exactly happened. Camelot was destroyed during the Holy War against the demons 16 years ago, which means Percival was most likely born directly sometime after the battle against Cath and the Sins. And he goes on to say that a single attack from their leader obliterated the city and its castle, which, obviously, the battle against the Demon King. And they say the king went into hiding with his few surviving knights and countrymen. Which, yes, after getting the power of chaos, Arthur wanted to rebuild Camelot. But it looks like Camelot wasn't really rebuilt in this plane of existence, because from what we can tell, there is a warp space where all the knights like Pelgard and Ironside are at, so it's very possible that he hid Camelot somewhere. As we see in this image, we see King Arthur in full body armor, and in the back we see Merlin, and if you pay very close attention, at the very bottom left corner we actually see a young... So after hearing this, Percival's like, wait, you mean to tell me? Yes. Donnie's like, yeah, it doesn't exist anymore, thinking that the fox tricked him, and that he's not going to go with him. The fox then says that Camelot does in fact still exist, and he promises him that is true, but he can't get there from normal means. If they want to reach it, they have to travel to the kingdom of Leonis first. As Percival's like, normal means? Leonis? And Donnie's like, and Donnie, literally being the rational person in this group, is actually questioning, like, do you expect us to buy that? Sorry, but we're not gonna part ways here. As Percival just gets all excited and be like, yes, let's go. As Donnie's like, what? And as they bicker, being like, normal means they can't. This sounds very exciting, and a kingdom is much bigger than a town. So yeah, we get a little bit of bickering and back and forth between Donnie and Percival, as the fox then says that, don't call me Mr. Fox, my name is Sin. And they're taking him to Leonis. Could Sin very well be there on orders from Meliodas himself? Maybe? I don't know. That's something we have to find out. It's still in the 6th chapter, and a bunch of bombshells have been dropped. And I have to say, I think this is like popping up a lot quicker than the original 7 Deadly Sins series. So the chapter ends with them. Setting off to go for Leonis. Or at least that's how I suspect the chapter ends, because from where I found the chapter, for some reason the final page, if this is the final page, is now loading. So if there is something that does in fact happen right after this one page where they start to head off for Leonis, I'll probably add it in right after this point. But yeah, that concludes chapter 6 of the Four Knights of the Apocalypse. Another great chapter. We get another sense of confirmation that Tristan and Lancelot are the two more members of the Four Knights, and that Pelgard and that Ironside actually meant to kill Percival. He didn't go easy on him. He didn't even let him go. He was just doing his duty, and he also shows how strong Percival it really is. We also get the name of the fox, and now we're heading off to Leonis, and the idea that Camelot doesn't actually really exist in the physical world, from what we can tell. It might even exist in a whole other dimension. So yeah, it's looking like next chapter it's looking like within the next couple of chapters we might get to Leonis, see Percival, meet Tristan, and maybe Meliodas and Elizabeth, because I just want to see Meliodas again. And for all we know, maybe Meliodas will help train Percival to master his power or something. Because if they have to go to Leonis in order to get to Camelot, then there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, with all that said and done, that was pretty much the entirety of the chapter. What did you guys think? Do you think they're going to go straight to Leonis for the next chapter, or do you think we're going to get another chapter or two of filler to see what's going on with the rest of the Cat's crew, and maybe the journey towards Leonis? Maybe they meet another member of the Four Knights on the way there, like Lancelot. Maybe they stop by the Fairy King's Forest where Bon is. We have no idea what's going to happen. And also, what do you think of this Order of the Holy Knights and Ironside's whole group? Are they really under orders from King Arthur? Or are they in fact on their own and doing this from the shadows, and King Arthur is completely unaware that they are trying to quote-unquote protect him from a prophecy that will destroy him and possibly the world? And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to show their support, and hopefully get this channel up to the numbers that it will potentially be at. And in the future, I'll be sure to make more 7 Deadly Sins, Four Knights of the Apocalypse videos. But yeah, with all that said and done, I appreciate the support. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you all have an awesome day.